Hey everybody, so I just wanted to walk you through the script that I wrote based off of a question that we received on the Facebook group. So what this script will do is it will take information from a form and then send out an email address to somebody that is specified in the form. I think there are some pretty easy settings if you want people to just be informed every time it's submitted, but that's not what we want here. We just want it sent to a specific person specified in the form. So the way that this works, so step one, you go to the form. Step two, you click on the three dots and then you go into the script editor. So I have this open over here, and I tried to make the text bigger on the screen too, so everybody makes it maybe a little easier for everyone to see it. All right, so then you'll paste in the code. So I'm going to put this on GitHub, and there will be a link on the description of the video on YouTube where you'll be able to get that. So to continue to set this up, I'm going to walk through setting it up, and then I'll go and do a little bit more detail of how the whole thing works for anybody who wants to know that. So after you paste in the code, you need to go over to the clock. And that's the triggers for what's going to make this code fire. All right, so don't mind that error rate. That was as I wrote it, and I'm running it and trying things. It works. All right, so this one, when you first come, you'll say to add a trigger, and then you will click on, you want to select get data. That's the name of the function that we want to run. And then for the event source that's coming from the form, so it's the form that's telling this to fire. And then for the event type, it's when the form is submitted that you want this to happen. All right, so I'll hit save on that. So again, from the form on submit. All right, so back over on the code. Once you have that event, now this is why it's important for that to happen, is because what this does is it says now pass in the event into this function. So and that means the triggering event that we set. So by setting that as a triggering event, it's saying pass in the information from the most recent form submission. So that's why that is pretty critical. All right, so the first thing we're doing is taking care of these variables. Now each one of these has, so I'll just add this. All right, so that's what this is going to do. Maybe I'll put this here too. So we'll do get the individual items. All right, so I have to explain a little bit of the code in order to get this. So this is essentially getting that response and getting the items from the response, but that's all the items in one list. Then we need to break out that list into the individual things, and then we need to get the text out of those items. All right, so when you set your variables, this is all based off of what's over in your form. Okay, so in code, when you have a list of things, the first thing in the list is item 0. Okay, so my patient name item is 0, and you can see here email right here, patient note is here, and doctor is here. Okay, so for each of these, when you set up the variables, you can put as many or as few things as you would want into a form like this, and then you would grab the variables from that in the order. If there's a variable you don't need for the code, then you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to include it in the code here. Okay, and then you'll see here we have patient name item and then patient name item. Okay, so after you get the items like this, then you need to get the text from it. And so that's what the patient's name is. So patient name is the patient name items response. Okay, so that's what you would have to do next, is to set up those variables. So that's step 7. Then here on step 8, you need to import the input the doctor names and email addresses. Okay, and then it needs to match 100% perfect. So actually, this doesn't match 100% perfect right now between the form and what's here. So what this will do in this situation is look at whatever gets sent in as the doctor's name. We'll say now in the case where the doctor's name is Dr. One Name, give this email address back. Okay, so you'll just need to go through and put those doctor names in, the names and the email addresses that would be associated with them. Then there's also this one here, which is email, or it's just default. So that means if none of these match, put it here. So right now they don't match, and it will go to that third email. Well, if that ever happens, if somebody says, oh, let me go update the referral form because we have a new employee, then they try to refer someone to that, I think you might want to set this default email to be like your IT person or the secretary or something like that, so that they know, oh, we put somebody in the referral form, but we didn't update it over here in the script. All right, so then it will, oh wait, never mind. We'll go into that detail later. You just need to make sure those match up and you put the right email addresses there with the doctors. All right, so then you would customize the email. So right now, this is what the email body looks like. Maybe I should say that, customize your email. Well, no, never mind, because you can customize more of it. So the subject, you could put something else in the subject if you wanted to. And then you have the body of the email is right here. So the /n, with the way I wrote this code, will all become hard breaks. And then the pluses bring in the items from the form and put them in here. So doctor break, so it would be the name of the patient contacted us recently for services. They can be reached at, and then it gives their address, and then it says we obtain the following information about the patient, and then it gives another hard break with a note. So you can rewrite that text however you want. You can also rewrite the subject, as I already mentioned. Okay, so that's it for how you would set this up. Once that's done, then it will just work. You just need to make sure you grant permissions the first time that you run it. And you could also run it right here, and then it will have the permissions that it needs. All right, then, so I'm going to go into a little bit more detail at this point. All right, so the way that this works, as I said, we pass in the event, which is a form submission. Here, we needed to get specific permissions to the form app. There was just, can't remember if I mentioned this already or not, but there was something, and I may have just missed a pop-up or something, but I needed to force it to ask for permissions to the form app for it to work correctly. So then we said in the form response, we need the event. This is this basically says take that whole response from the event, plop it in here. Then it says get the list of items as one big list, and then we break out that list and get the first item, second item, third item, fourth item, and then we get the text from those items as well. And then at that point, at this point here, we say, now we need to go look up the doctor email. So what we're going to do is we're going to call the get doctor email function, and we're going to give it the information of the doctor variable. So this exact variable right here. And then this one, the function basically says, by putting a name here, I'm saying, whatever somebody gives me, I only accept one item. Whatever it is, I'm going to call it doctor name. So then it passes in the doctor name to this statement. And it says, in the case where the doctor's name is this, give this email address, as I already explained. And then it returns it back. And so now doctor email is set to whatever response it gets out of this item. Then at that point, we now tell it to write the email, and we're passing in 4 different variables. So these variable names match what's up here. We have patient name, patient email, patient note, and doctor email. And then, if you wanted to, you could always pass in doctor as well if you wanted to say, instead of doctor, but right now I have first and last name. That just sounds a little weird to put a full name at the front of an email. But maybe if you said Dr. Hoffman instead, I don't know. And again, if you put Dr. Hoffman over here in your form, you have to have Dr. Hoffman over here. If you have 2 Dr. Hoffmans, it's going to cause problems. All right, so, and then again, down here we have the function for the email, and then it says basically whatever is the first thing you give me, I'm just going to call it patient. So you don't always, in this case, I don't believe I had to have unique names for the write email function. I think I had to for the doctor email function. Again, I'm not some expert code writer, um, but yeah, so it's basically saying whatever is the first item, I'm going to call it patient, the second item, patient contact, then note, and doctor contact. And then it basically, then you use those variables throughout these items. And then we say to, that's going to go to doctor contact. Then we have referral of patient. So, you know, if you wanted to, you could, if you wanted to have the client's name in there, then you could actually do that. And all of a sudden we have the patient's name that's the variable right here that we could bring in if you wanted to do that. And then we have the HTML body is formatted text. So what the formatted text, the way that this worked is it took the raw text and it said we're going to, this is called a regular expression, and what it basically does is say look, this one in this instance says look for /n, replace it with br. And then this was something, I don't understand regular expressions perfectly, so this is something that I found online, you know, but that's a typical, regular expressions are used quite a bit, but I am not to the point where I can just read them outright and understand what's happening. So then that is, we specify in this instance that this is HTML text, so then that way the BRs get rendered as page breaks. All right, so that's how that all works. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up either in the comments here or on the Facebook group. So I hope this is helpful. Look for that the GitHub link as well, and that will be able to get you what you need. All right, see ya.